Hi, everyone. This is Aryeh Eisenberg from Edu-Together, and thank you for tuning in to our next episode. I'm really privileged and happy to have as our special guest today, Matt Allio. Matt is the Senior Advisor of the Guanghua Education Group and is joining us right now from Tianjin, China. And Matt, thank you so much for taking the time to speak with me today. It's really great to have you.
It's my pleasure to be here. I just arrived, like I think 3 days ago.
Oh my
Uh,
goodness.
so it's no, it's really good. It's good to be here, and I'm glad to be here. Thank you.
So it's our pleasure. So I guess you're still getting over the jet lag a little bit, still getting acclimated
Yeah, I don't know. I never get jet lag. I think jet lag's kind of a myth, but I'll take it. So maybe I'm feeling a little fatigued because of the jet lag, but I feel good. I feel good.
Okay. Well, I'm glad it's a myth for you. I know when I travel, it always kind of creeps up on me, but I'm
hmm
glad you don't have that problem. So Matt, for those people who might not recognize the name Gunghai Education Group, I know when I learned about what you were doing, my first reaction was, wow, that's so awesome. But for those people
hmm
who are not familiar with what you're doing, tell us about the organization and about what your role is right now.
It's a good question because it brings up all kinds of kind of
Uh-oh.
good memories in me, right? There's context to every question. So it's, for me, Guanghua Education Group, because I've been in independent schools for many, many, many years and formerly a head of school, but Guanghua Education Group is by definition, a group of a business group that owns 12 schools in China and 24,000 students. And
Wow.
their purpose, or one of their purposes, is to kind of bridge the gap, is not the right word, but build connections between American schools, uh, or Western schools, and Eastern schools, or Western
Mm.
culture and Eastern cultures. Uh, and part of that is there, I was going to say misperceptions, but there's so many, just a lack of understanding at times between, Eastern culture and Western culture, and China and America, that one of their roles is to build that connection. And that's part of my role here, is to help them do that. I'm
Wow.
on their campus now in Tianjin, beautiful campus here, 700 students, brand new campus, and meeting kids every day that they want to learn about America and want to share about China.
That's such a unique experience educationally, I know. And you mentioned you've been a head of school, you've been a principal in the States. I know this is still a generally new role for you, but what are your observations so far after spending some time with the students in China, meeting them? How would you compare it to a typical school in the United States?
Boy, yeah, that's good. So I've worked with Chinese schools before. In
Hmm.
2013, 2014, I did some work in Chengdu. I would go and back to Chengdu in the Sichuan conference, and or province, and I would do work with schools there. In 2016 and 2018, in the Shandong conference, province, I would go back and forth and do some work with some schools there, and teaching English. And now,
Wow.
and a lot of contacts. People would come over, delegations from China would come over and visit Trinity School in Menlo Park, where I was head of school. They would visit the school. So the connections continued. The fact is the cultures are much different. The best way, or one of the ways that I describe it is, uh, in China, what I see in the students is what is good for all of us. They work for the all. This is good
Okay.
for me, and it's good for the class. It is good for it's for the common good. It focuses on what is the common good of the class, what is the common good of the family, what is the common good of society. How do we work as a collective to do good work? And achievement is the students in China look at least I speak generally, but many students in China look at education as their job. Their job is to go to school and to advance themselves and advance their family. In America, it's feels at times more entrepreneurial. The
True.
the role of the individual, the innovation of the individual, the creativity of the individual, the critical thought of the individual, uh, leads to progress for the individual. So what we're trying to do at Guanghua is kind of look at those two worlds and pull them together in some ways. I saw something today that was
Oh,
or
yeah.
yesterday was quite remarkable. They have a innovation center here, and on one of the displays on the outside, they had a beautiful display in frames of Chinese medicine on one wall. Chinese medicine comes from herbs, comes from plants. I forget how many were there, but let's for optics sake, let's say there were 50 Chinese plants on the wall, labeled
Okay.
beautifully. Adjacent to that was a periodic table. And that where we draw a lot of our medicine, right, or a lot of our science. So there's some real contrast in the two cultures that is quite remarkable. And I'm happy to be able to do the best I can to help bridge some of those cultural assumptions.
So it sounds like quite a project that the organization is embarking on, and sounds like an important project. Would you be able to give us a couple of, one or two specific examples of how this bridging is happening within the daily educational routine or in the educational program that the school is offering?
Mm-hmm. Well, for example, for me, today I met with the elementary school teachers. And the way the bridge is I will go in to their classrooms and I will speak to cultural holidays in the United States. I will talk about Chinese New Year, how we celebrate it in the United States. I'll talk about the university system in the United States, what the university system is looking for students that are coming from abroad. I will speak to the way democracy works in the United States.
Oh, interesting.
And in turn, they will send delegations of students and of teachers to the United States. They would come to Trinity School and they would this summer, 35 students came to Trinity School in Menlo Park and went to our Summertopia, our summer program.
Wow.
And sure, it's great that kids get to see a new world, but it's more about being kind of immersed in a world that is different than their own. And again, question some of those assumptions that they may already have.
So it's an interesting thing to talk about because obviously the cultural, political differences between China and the United States are sometimes vast. And obviously it's important to teach the respective audiences about the differences and even probably some similarities too. What's the most popular question that comes up, when you're talking about government or education or something like that? What questions or comments do you hear the most? Or, I guess really, what's the most surprising thing that they learn about the differences between the two countries?
No, it's good. So I speak as one person, right? This is
Sure.
one person's opinion, and someone else may have a different one. I find that one of the things that mystifies the students and teachers and the families that I speak to in China is the idea of gun violence, of some of the things that are problems in America: gun violence, drugs, crime. What they consider to be, in some cases, a failing educational system, except for the elite colleges that they have heard of. They're mystified by our election process. How does the election process work?
We're still trying to figure that one out.
Yeah, we're still trying to figure it out. So that's what. But they also see there's also a glimmer in their eyes when they speak about Hollywood and actors and actresses and special effects and just the entrepreneurial, innovative spirit of America also is astounding to them. So that's their balance.
That's so interesting. And what do you find, when the students are going through the program, are there certain subject requests or certain topics that they come and they say, I want to learn more about this. I want teach me additional information?
It's not so much about, the subjects are quite interesting. Like when I look at a math program or a reading program or a science program, here at Guanghua or in Chinese schools. It's typically a notch more advanced
Okay.
academically in terms of content. It's very high level content, and students are very focused on that. They are often more interested in the creative arts with
Oh, wow.
drama, music, and design thinking. Tell me about a makerspace. What does a makerspace look like in design thinking? What does a theater look like? I mean, they've seen theaters, of course, and there's a beautiful theater here on campus and a beautiful makerspace here on campus. But they want to know more about the kind of the creative pursuits. Uh,
Okay.
the
Interesting.
critical thinking is not as prized in China. Again, one person's opinion, but critical thinking is not as prized in China as it may be in America. And they want to know about asking questions, which doesn't happen to the same degree, to even close to the same degree as it does in America.
And is that something that you find takes time for the students in China to kind of get used to, or like right away are they coming with their questions and saying like this is what we're wondering about, teach us or show us?
It takes them a while. They are, again, I'm speaking as one person, but generally they are so intent on doing good
Yeah.
work and being diligent workers and achieving at a high level that conversations that are not leading to a specific outcome takes them a while to warm up. I typically have to prompt students. I will go into the primary school next week and I'll talk about life in Silicon Valley and education in
Oh,
Silicon
cool.
Valley, where I spent a number of years. And they've heard of Facebook, and they've heard of Google, and they've heard of Roblox. They've heard of these different companies in America, and they want to learn more about it, but they do not launch in right away. I have to prompt them.
It's interesting. You mentioned before that you've spent some time in China in the past teaching English and getting to know the students in the educational system. What's the English level of the students when they come into the school that, into the Gunghai system? Is that something that you're teaching them from basic level up, or do the students come with a certain level of English proficiency already established?
So it's a first grade through 12th grade school year. So school in China is kindergarten would be considered well, this is a private school here. Gunghua is a private school, but
Right.
really compulsory education begins in grade one. So
Okay.
grade one through 12th grade. And most of the students may have come in with in first grade with a little bit of English, some classes or some tutoring. But the English program here is very intensive. I mean, they have
Wow.
an English teacher and they have a Chinese teacher in their class. So by the time they get to middle school, or what they call intermediate school, their English is very good. Their English is very good. One of the things that I'm working on, they asked me to work on today was, how do we combat the pronunciation issue? The pronunciation and accent. That's a tough one. I don't know how we get there. But their English is typically strong once they get through those primary grades.
Oh, that's great. I'm sure it makes it easier for people in your role to bring in those resources from the outside
Mm-hmm.
to be able
Mm-hmm.
to share with them.
And
You,
many of them want to study at U.S. colleges. I mean, so
ah,
many of them
okay,
want to study at U.S. colleges. And again, they see it as their job to learn English that
okay.
will help them gain entry to U.S. colleges.
Culturally in China, is that something that's generally encouraged for students to go abroad to study in university, or is that something that's is that something that a student would have to convince his or her parents to let them do?
I think it's a strong desire. I think I
Okay.
mean, one thing that is I find most interesting is uh, there is a test at the end of their senior year in high school, or the latter part of their senior year in high school. I forget exactly how you pronounce it in English, Gongkao or something like that. And it's over multiple days that it will
Wow.
determine what college they are able to attend. And we do, students in America take SATs and they apply to a number of different colleges. They might get waitlisted. This will determine if you score at a certain level, you will be able to go to college X. I would see
Really? Wow.
mostly
Interesting.
mothers at the end of every school day uh, when I was living here, just waiting at the gate for their child to get out of school, their 12th grader to get out of school, and for them to take them home and they can rest and feed them because that test is everything. Uh,
Mm,
and so it's a little bit a different mindset when they think about American colleges. They want to go to American colleges. They're trying to build out a more rounded student that is not just based on test scores.
right.
And they go to their 700 kids here at Guanghua that parents believe in that. They want them to have maker space and design thinking. They want them to have they want them to have art. They want them to have music. They want them to experience a more creative side.
Well, and it's so important. I feel like we sometimes have the same discussions with private schools in the United States, how private schools are many times able to offer those types of subjects, the arts and
Yes.
the STEM and the maker spaces and it's an advantage of being in that type of school system. So it
Mm-hmm.
sounds like your students have that similar advantage
Mm-hmm.
there as
Mm-hmm.
well,
Yes.
which is
Yes.
great. So I have to ask, what you described so far, it sounds really, really unique in the way that the cultures are being shared and the different political systems and educational systems. One of the problems that we are grasping with here in the United States, especially during recent times, unfortunately, is the issue of tolerance and the issue of acceptance.
Yes. Yes.
What are your observations of the culture or the system in China? Are those issues that you find yourself as an educator dealing with at the same level in China as you were when you were working as a head of school in the United States? Is it the similar? Is it different? Like what are your experiences with that?
It's such a it's right after I answered the last question, I thought, oh my gosh, like I have not. But one thing that hasn't come up that is one of the strongest, not impressions, like the kind of conclusions that I have come to that only makes sense when you look at the data is in China, there is not much, if any, plurality. I mean, it is a nation of Chinese
Right.
that fit under the Chinese umbrella, that have a clear path and defined path to the future. So you go into a Chinese classroom, it is unmistakable a Chinese classroom, when you walk in. Where America is truly a nation of immigrants. I
Absolutely.
mean, and whether they're coming from Europe, whether they had the journey from Africa, whether they're coming from Mexico, whether they're coming from South Asia, whether they're coming from China, and so that plurality is something that is very interesting and hard to understand for the Chinese people. When I was in communication with Chinese organizations, and I would show them of class pictures of the 5th grade class at Trinity School in Menlo Park. And of those 22 students, you would have 15 different nations represented in that class, right? And that here you walk into a class of 22 and it is 22 Chinese students. It's
Oh,
undeniable,
wow. So
indisputable.
interesting.
You walk into when I was head of school at Trinity, you walk into a 5th grade class of 22, you may have 15 different nations of immigrants represented in that class. And that plurality of
Wow.
thought and the plurality of cultures is quite interesting.
And so does that make it more difficult to appreciate or to be able to relate to other cultures, or does it make it easier because they know that there are a lot of other people different than the way they are?
Yeah, I think on the surface it's more difficult because it is a singular culture here, but difficult doesn't mean that it's negative.
Okay.
It's not familiar.
Right.
It's disorienting. Piaget would call it, disequilibrium, something I'm trying to learn, and it's a little bit uncomfortable, but I will. Unlike in America, where we have divisions at times, and
Right.
bridging those divisions takes a tremendous amount of work. But I hear it's more of a disequilibrium, a disorientation that they have to work through.
That's so interesting. It just, goes to show, I think, what different countries and different cultures can learn from each other, and if we really do what
Hmm.
what you guys are doing, which is to open up everybody's eyes and to really go in and be able to share and teach and appreciate and learn from each other. It's so
Hmm.
important.
Hmm.
As the new school year, Matt, is getting started, what's the next step, or what's the main goal this year for the organization, for the schools? What's the big focus going to be for the coming school year?
Uh, I think the organization itself, 12 schools, 24,000 kids, they're going to continue to focus on, I know this for a fact, continue to focus on innovation and creativity and critical thinking and expanding the arts while keeping a very strong academic base, hiring the best teachers that they
Awesome.
possibly can. The facility here is, I'm looking at my apartment here on campus. Even though it's evening, it's a beautiful, beautiful campus, or the state-of-the-art campus. That's one thing that they will continue to do. The other one, and with trying to bridge Western and Eastern thought. I mean, they
Hmm.
call it absorbing. We want to absorb both Western and Eastern thought in our schools,
Wow.
and they're well on their way to doing that. The other thing is to continue to build the gap, not the gap, but build the bridge to American schools. So part of my job when I'm in America, I will be here 6 weeks. I will go back to America at
Okay.
the end of September. Yeah, I'm not here all year. I come here three or
You're
four
back and
times a
forth.
year for 6 times a year. So in America, I will set up schools for them to visit. They will send over half a
Oh,
dozen
wow.
people. Last week I was or 2 weeks ago, I was on the East Coast. We were visiting a school on the East Coast. They want to see the schools on typically on the coast, on the West Coast,
Okay.
Silicon Valley, Los Angeles, New York. They want to see, they want to, so I help facilitate those visits to the schools. And part of that is, their 12th graders may want to be looking at college admissions at those
Colleges,
schools.
right.
They want to speak with confidence about having been there. And part of it is building relationships with those. They
Wow.
want a foothold in, they want a foothold in America. They want a foothold in America.
That's so amazing. It just the mission and the process. What a unique educational setup that you guys are offering. Uh, Matt, for those people who would like to find out more about the Guanghua Educational Group, about the schools, about the missions, what's the best way for people to do that?
Best way is to just go to the website. It can be translated to English. They can contact me directly. I'd be happy to speak to them about Guanghua and the education group and the great work that everyone here is doing. Again, I'm here 4 times a year,
Wow.
6 weeks each time, and then do some work in America as well. But happy to share.
Matt Allio, Senior Advisor of the Guanghua Educational Group, thank you so much for taking some time to talk about the really special work that you're doing. It sounds amazing. I'm ready to come and visit you. I'm not sure if I want to visit you in the States or in China, but definitely China. Who am I kidding?
Welcome to China. You would love it.
Yeah.
You would love it.
We'll see if we can make that happen. But it's really the work you guys are doing sounds so unique, but also so important. So we want to really
Mhm.
wish you guys the best of luck in the coming school year. We really hope that your students have all the opportunities that they can. And Matt, thank you again so much for being with us today. We really appreciate.
Aryeh, thank you. I appreciate you giving me the voice and the platform. And
Oh,
imagine a world where, again, China and America, you can build that bridge, and some of these
absolutely.
representations we can solidify. It'd be quite remarkable. So I appreciate the platform. Thank you.
Our pleasure. And Matt, we'll let you in a second get back to sleep because it's pretty late for you over there in China. For those of you who want to find out more about our podcast series or about our organization, Edu-Together, please feel free to visit our website at www.edutogether.org. And until next episode, thank you so much. This is Aryeh Eisenberg, and we'll look forward to seeing you next time. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.
Thanks, everyone.